Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So Anna Kasparian, she has been moving closer to the centre for a while now. I think there were a few distinct moments that really opened her eyes to the hypocrisy of the left, and she hasn't been afraid to call it out. She's also been on the receiving end of backlash from radical leftists. For example, when she made it clear that she didn't want to be called cis.
The Young Turks' Anna Kasparian is facing accusations of transphobia online after tweeting this yesterday. Quote, "I'm a woman. Please don't ever refer to me as a person with a uterus, birthing person, or person who menstruates. How do people not realize how degrading this is? You can support the transgender community without doing this. SHIT."
She was inundated with misogynistic comments, with threats, with all sorts of insults, just because she didn't agree with made-up terminology. Despite her co-host, Cenk, being so Trump deranged, it's ridiculous. She came across as more of the voice of reason, and she would balance him out. She either wrote in Bernie Sanders, didn't vote at all. I doubt she voted for Kamala. But who knows? Because Stephen A. Smith, despite calling out the left multiple times, he still insisted he was going to vote for Kamala, just because he didn't want to lose favour with that side of the political spectrum, I guess. So Anna seems to be very honest about the doubts that she's had about the radical left for the longest time. She has called them out. The first distinct moment that made it as clear as day that Anna was moving away from the left was when she appeared on Jillian Michaels' podcast. She spoke about the homelessness in California and how funds that are there to help the issue have been squandered, and the issue has gotten worse and worse over the years. Jillian Michaels came out and said that she fled California because of the high crime, homelessness.
Sage Steele asked me, she's like, what was the moment when you felt like California had lost its mind? And it was a piece of legislation that I can't recall.
Did it affect your life?
But Bill,
Did it affect your life?
is the crime affecting our lives? Is the homelessness affecting our
Was
lives?
crime affecting your life here in
Yeah,
California?
absolutely. My house got broken into.
Your house got broken into?
Yes, and guess what? The relationship with PG&E, my house burned down in 2018.
Where's your house?
I have in Malibu.
Malibu.
Bonzal, yeah.
You got broken into in Malibu?
I got...
Things are rough out there.
And it was so nuts.
I'm voting
And
for Trump.
Guess who let the guy out during COVID? Because I got the letter. Newsom. It was the guy's third offense. He broke into our house. He had duct tape and a video camera. Anyway, long story, but third strike, guy goes to jail, gets let out during COVID.
And this is a very sad moment where Anna also spoke about that. She spoke about being assaulted. She said people had no sympathy for her because she's a white woman, I guess. They had no sympathy for her, and they made these assumptions that were pretty racist. And then we're going to look at her most recent interview where she doesn't mince her words and says that she was basically duped. She was duped by the left. And I think she has a lot more clarity now, post-election.
As I'm walking my dog, I see these two guys that were just kind of like moving around weirdly. You know, they seemed kind of manic, and their clothes were tattered. So I knew that they were probably homeless. And I also knew that they're probably on something just based on like the twitchy way they were acting. But living in LA, I mean, there's homeless people everywhere, right? So I've never had problems. I didn't think anything of it. But as I was bending down to pick up my dog's mess, one of the guys like grabs me by my hips, and he had an erection.
Oh, God.
And just starts like humping me. And I didn't know what to do. Like I was terrified. I didn't have a weapon on me.
Yep.
Like I had no way of defending myself. I didn't know how far it was going to go because it's two guys. I'm by myself with my little dog. It was one of the most terrifying things ever, because I'm pretty good at defending myself. In that moment, I just knew there was no option.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And luckily, he stopped, and they just laughed at me and walked away as they were laughing at me. And so there was the fear, and then the humiliation, and weirdly shame. Like I felt ashamed for some reason, and it was awful. And it was really taking a toll on my mental health because I have to walk my dog, right? So at least 2 or 3 times a day, I'm going outside kind of scared.
Ooh, that's absolutely horrific. And this is the point I was trying to make when there was so much emphasis being put on Roe v. Wade. So much emphasis being put on that when it really wasn't going to do what they said it was going to do. But while you were focused on Roe v. Wade, nobody was talking about how it's unsafe for women to walk down the street in these Democrat-run cities in particular. Not even safe to walk down the street. Yes, because of the homelessness, because of people strung out on drugs walking around. We know that they don't lock criminals up in these big cities, or they let them back onto the street multiple times. Jordan Neely was arrested 42 times. If he had stayed in prison, like you should if you've been arrested 42 times, I think you've been given enough chances, he would still be alive today. Everything that went down would not have happened. It's these Democrats that are responsible for these soft on crime policies, and that's reflected in these big cities. The crime is an issue, safety is an issue, and this is one of the reasons why Jillian said she had to leave California. And what do people do? They side with the criminal. That seems to be a common theme in recent years, is siding with the criminal, making a martyr out of criminals and showing no sympathy for the woman who's been assaulted. And this is the party that's supposed to be for women.
And so I opened up about this on the show, not really thinking much of it. And before I know it, I'm starting to get these messages, and it's like really, really harsh stuff. And it's about how you are painting a picture of the homeless community. You know, how could you be like this? You know, these are your unhoused neighbors and they need help. A few people accused me of being racist when I had never disclosed the race of the individuals who did this to me. And in fact, they were white. And so like when they started accusing me of being racist, I'm like, wait a minute. Why are you assuming that the people who did this?
Of course.
Yeah, like, I think you might have a problem here.
That's always the way. Same people who go on about Trump being racist have displayed more evidence of the ones actually being the racists.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that woke me up. That woke me up because I'm like, oh my God.
They eat their own, mama.
Some of the people.
They eat their own on the extreme left.
And some of the people that I've associated myself because I thought these are the good people.
Yep.
These are the ones who don't treat others differently based on their skin colors. No, they definitely have stereotypes in their head and are totally blind to the fact that they have those stereotypes and in fact go around accusing others of being bad actors when they themselves need to do the work. You know, this phrase they like to say a lot, do the work. Do the work and ask yourself, why did you have that stereotype in your head?
Oh my gosh, you said you watched a little bit of the interview I did with Matt. Did you see the video where the guy's going around saying our voter ID laws racist? And all the white people say, yes, they are. And when they're asked why, they're like, well, you know, they'd have to know how to use a computer. Well, they'd have to have data plan. Well, you know, they don't have anywhere to go with this ID. And I thought...
And the mayor of New York, he said black people don't know how to use a computer or something like that.
Young black kids growing up in the Bronx who don't even know what the word computer is. They don't know. They don't know these things. And I want the world open up to all of them, because when you have their diverse voices innovating solutions through technology, then you're really addressing society's broader challenges.
That came out of her mouth. Sorry, the governor of New York, Kathy Hochul. I'm laughing because it's just so absurd. It's so absurd. And that woke a lot of people up as well. And I think people began to realize how insulting and how racist it is to say that black people are incapable of getting what everyone else in the country is able to get. Saying that black people are incapable of getting ID. I mean, come on. This is America. I got myself into a lot of inconvenience when I first moved here because I didn't realize you carry your ID everywhere. Americans carry ID with them everywhere. They always have their ID on them. Sometimes you all have to present ID, even if one of you, if you're in a group and one person is buying alcohol, they expect everybody to present ID. I think that was in Texas where that happened. They may ask you for your ID, even if you clearly look over 21. So I soon learned my lesson and I carry my ID with me everywhere now. I've been doing that, you know, for a very long time now. Just ridiculous. Using black people as pawns. That's what Malcolm X spoke about. It still goes on today.
It doesn't get more.
You don't see it.
It does not get more racist than you thinking a person of color has nowhere to go with their ID, doesn't have the money for a data plan, can't figure out how to find the DMV.
So on Anna's most recent interview, She speaks about trusting the mainstream media and believing them. Yes, that's right. She believed the mainstream media's narrative, especially when it came to the migrant crisis. They would downplay what was going on at the border. They would gaslight us and tell us that if you questioned the number of illegals flooding into the country, then you were a racist. And remember, Greg Abbott, his genius decision to move the illegals into these sanctuary cities, self-professed sanctuary cities, who claim to welcome migrants. Okay, have them. We gave them what they wanted, and many people's eyes were opened. Remember Martha's Vineyard? How the illegals were moved there to this wealthy area, and did they last there? No. The same liberals who were telling you that you were racist for not embracing illegals flooding into your community were the ones who didn't even allow them to stay in Martha's Vineyard for 5 minutes. They were swiftly removed.
I can definitely be honest about my own flaws and my own mistakes because I bought the mainstream media narrative that there wasn't a migrant crisis.
Really?
And yeah, I did believe it. I believe because, look, I was an idiot because, I mean, who do you trust in today's media landscape, right? There's a lot of liars out there.
Yeah,
and when it comes to mainstream media, the fact of the matter is they do play defense more and more for the Democratic Party. And that's an issue because there was a time when that didn't happen. And so I still believed in their good faith reporting, even though it turns out, a lot of these reports would omit really important details about what's really going on. And so it wasn't until Texas Governor Greg Abbott started busing or sending migrants to blue cities where that woke me up. That woke a lot of people up. And suddenly America realizes, oh, there is a migrant crisis.
Why did that wake you up?
Well, because all of a sudden you're seeing migrants sleeping on the floor in the police department in Chicago because they don't have shelter for these people.
And what was really particularly sick to me was that they were perfectly happy for these red states and, border towns to be dealing with this crisis. Their policies were basically to allow these people to flood into the country, but it was the red states who would have to deal with it. And they were perfectly happy for that. And they were perfectly happy to gaslight us and tell us that if you're not happy about dealing with this, you're a racist. And nobody was stating the obvious. Where are the resources for all of this? While there are homeless people on the street, including homeless veterans, we're housing illegals. And then even with that, there's nowhere to put them. They're sleeping on the floor of the police station. Like, what is this? This is what they were justifying when they were made to put up or shut up. That's when they started accusing the Republican governors of being racist for sending people to them. How dare you treat people like this, putting them on buses. Instead of saying, great, we're a sanctuary city, we welcome these illegals. We don't want them in the racist red states with the racist Republicans. We'd rather they be here where they're safe. No, you're saying that it was inhumane. It's like, which one is it? Meanwhile, these people are being put up in 5-star hotels. Who's paying for all of this? Oh yeah, let's not forget that they were putting them in predominantly black neighborhoods too. And that woke up a lot of black people as well, especially in Chicago, because they were seeing their schools that were shut down being repurposed to accommodate illegals when they chose not to repurpose it or reopen it to provide something for the community. They left it there to rot until the illegals came, and then they repurposed it and used it for their benefit.
Right? You're seeing, these. I love watching streams of city council meetings because that's how you understand what's really going on in these cities, right? These are real people who live there and they get their opportunity to speak.
Chicago's been an amazing thing to watch.
Wild.
Yeah.
I mean, I watch every city council meeting from Chicago because it's
crazy.
Incredible.
There's a 10-year prison sentence when you want to stand up here for those illegals.
So Brandon, you and all these Democratic mayors out here and governors, y'all talking about crashing out for these illegals, right? You all sit up there and said you will not allow Trump to come in here and get these illegals. Yeah, you can smile. We're in $1 billion deficit. And you spent half of our money, half of that on illegals. You campaign and double down that you would not raise property taxes. I ain't gonna do that. You campaign went around doing that. And here we are right now.
The city of Chicago is the most corrupt city on the planet, and it's run by a Democratic machine. And you guys have been doing this for decades.
I'm telling you, Brandon Johnson, from my heart to yours, Trump 2024. No more blue, no matter who. Donald J. Trump. Trump 2024. He gonna stop the bleeding. He gonna deal with this sanctuary city, and he gonna help us get you out, and he gonna get anybody out who roll with you, who think they're gonna tear up Chicago. Y'all getting out too.
Those people were not messing around. I loved it. They were not messing around. They had had enough. Much respect to those Chicagoans. Is that how you say it? To the people of Chicago.
Rather than relying on mainstream media reporting or anyone's reporting, to be quite honest with you, what I'll do is I'll go out of my way and I'll watch, the entirety of a government function, local government function. Mm-hmm. I talk to real people and I get a sense of where hearts and minds really are. And so on election night, I wasn't surprised at all. I knew what was coming. I totally knew it was coming. I knew that Cook County was going to swing, I think it's about 8 percentage points toward Republicans. I knew LA County, and this is what I was surprised about. I did not expect Donald Trump to flip 10 counties in California from blue to red. But I guess I shouldn't have been surprised about that either, because when you look at the conditions that people are living in a Democrat-controlled state, well, yeah, you can understand why people are turning their backs on the Democratic Party. You can understand why people are frustrated at the corruption, at the loss of $24 billion that was allocated to help the homeless, when homelessness only exploded during that time, and that money is now unaccounted for. It was funneled to nonprofits whose executives get paid minimum $200,000, $250,000 a year. And they have multiple executives who are making at least that or more. And you just see the waste and you see the real grift. And so for people out there who are concerned about the grifters, take a good hard look at the systemic grifting that's happening right now. It's disgusting.
And of course, there are grifters on both sides. We know this. These establishment Republicans who want us to be involved in endless wars. There are definitely grifters on both sides. I mean, that's why we had some Democrats praising Nikki Haley, for goodness sake, because she was all for the establishment. But one thing that we can know now in no uncertain terms is that the Democratic Party is a part of the establishment. That's why Kamala was able to raise $1 billion or whatever. This is the party of the elitists.
You said that Democrats were seen more as protecting the establishment than Republicans, according to your polling. So tell me, what is the root cause of that? Why do voters actually think that it's Democrats who are protecting the establishment?
Because we are the party of the establishment. I mean, there is a realignment happening in the American electorate where Democrats, are representing kind of different people than we thought we were. Our coalition looks a little different than we thought it did, and the Republican coalition is changing too, right? It's more multiracial. The Republican coalition, it's less wealthy. The Democrats are getting whiter and wealthier in terms of our voter coalition. Now, again, you have to be respectful of reality, right? We have to operate within reality. Okay, if that's our coalition, if that's the changing parameters of the American electorate, then how do we win within those parameters? And one of the things you see is, you have to make, you can't wish an electorate or a coalition into existence that you don't have. And there are a lot of people who want us to be the party of certain things, but the Democratic Party isn't a vehicle for any particular ideology or any particular constituency. It's not a reactive force against Donald Trump. The mission of the Democratic Party is to go out and win elections.
Yeah.
And again, we have to be real about what that entails.
Yeah.
And one of the problems we have is as what the Democratic Party represents to voters and who it represents from American society changes, if we are going to be more associated with the establishment, and it's clear that in the minds of many voters we are, then you can't be walking around talking about everything about America is, structural this or failing that, right?
Yeah.
You have to go out and say, if you're the party of the establishment, there are things that matter and are good in America right now. There's been some writing post-election by some really talented analysts about how Republicans have sort of stolen a march on Democrats of being this sort of, populist resistance to the man, right, as it were. And that's a field that used to belong entirely to the Democrats, and now it doesn't. And now they got to, that changes things. You have to recognize that.
They seem to always be putting America last. That's why we can send money overseas endlessly, while Americans are wondering, why aren't we seeing a return on what we pay in? So I admire Anna's honesty and transparency in these recent interviews, and that's what we need when it comes to journalists, people who do commentary. Just be honest. Stop lying. Even if you lean a certain way, just report honestly and hold people accountable when they need to be held accountable. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Like, comment and subscribe. Take care of yourselves, and God willing, I will see you in the next video.